What if I told you the Amish have been storing rainwater for 200 years without a single storage tank? No plastic barrels, no metal containers, just pure genius engineering that actually works better than modern systems. Here's the secret they've been keeping underground. Hey there, water warriors! Welcome back to the channel. You know, I spent 3 weeks this summer living with Amish communities in Pennsylvania, and I was absolutely stunned by their rainwater system. While we're all buying expensive tanks and pumps, these folks have been quietly perfecting something called dry well harvesting. A system so clever, it literally stores water in the ground itself. No storage tanks, no electricity, just gravity, natural filtration, and some serious old-school engineering. And today, we're going to break down exactly how they do it, step by step, so you can build this genius system yourself. Amish Challenge. First, let's understand why the Amish don't use storage tanks. It's not just about tradition, it's practical genius. Think about it. Plastic tanks cost $500 to $2,000 each, take up valuable farm space, crack in winter, turn your water green with algae in summer, and they're just sitting there collecting dust when they're not full. The Amish looked at this problem and said, why store water above ground when we can store it where it naturally wants to be, underground? But here's the kicker. They don't actually store the water in tanks underground either. They've figured out how to let the earth itself become their storage system. But there's another layer to this challenge that most people don't consider. The Amish communities don't have the luxury of running to hardware stores for replacement parts when something breaks. They need systems that are virtually maintenance-free and can last for generations. Storage tanks? They're lucky to make it 15 years before cracking or failing. Plus, think about the space issue. Every square foot of their property is precious, used for gardens, livestock, workshops, or family life. Do they really want to dedicate 200 square feet to a giant plastic tank that's only full during rainy season? Of course not. And then there's the reliability factor. In the dead of winter, when you need water most, what happens to your above-ground storage tank? It freezes, cracks, and leaves you without water. But underground, the earth itself acts as insulation, keeping water flowing year-round. Amish Genius System. Ready for this? The Amish use what's called a dry well harvesting system. Here's how it works, in simple terms. Instead of collecting rainwater in containers, they collect it in specially designed underground chambers that slowly release water back into the soil when needed, creating a natural underground reservoir. But wait, it gets even more clever. They don't just dig holes and hope for the best. These systems are engineered like Swiss watches. They channel rainwater from rooftops into stone-lined collection chambers, then use a network of French drains to slowly distribute that water through the soil. The ground itself becomes their storage tank. And here's the mind-blowing part. They can access this stored water through simple hand-dug wells that tap into their underground distribution network. It's like having an invisible water storage system that's always full and never needs maintenance. What makes this truly revolutionary is that it mimics nature's own water storage system. Instead of fighting against natural processes, the Amish have essentially created artificial aquifers on their own property. The water doesn't sit stagnant in plastic containers. It moves slowly through layers of soil and stone, staying fresh and pure while being naturally pressurized by the weight of the earth above. The engineering precision is remarkable when you consider it's all done without modern surveying equipment or power tools. Every angle, every slope, every connection is calculated by eye and experience. Yet these systems work so perfectly that many have been operating continuously for over a century. The beauty of this approach is that it solves multiple problems at once. Excess water during storms doesn't cause flooding. It's absorbed and stored. Dry periods don't mean water shortages. The underground reserve keeps flowing. Maintenance costs are virtually zero because there are no mechanical parts to break down, no tanks to crack, no pumps to fail. Building your own system. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That sounds amazing, but I don't have a horse-drawn plough and a team of oxen. Don't worry, this system scales down beautifully for modern backyards. Here's exactly how to build your own Amish-style harvesting system. First, you'll need to dig your main collection chamber, find the downspout that gets the most water, and dig a 4 by 4 foot hole about 6 feet deep. Don't worry about making it perfect. The Amish don't either. The key is proper drainage and solid walls. The Amish typically choose locations that are naturally lower in their property, allowing gravity to do most of the work. You want to position this chamber at least 10 feet away from your house foundation to prevent any potential water damage, but close enough to your primary downspout that your inlet pipe run isn't excessive. When excavating, you'll want to make sure the sides are relatively straight and the bottom is level. The Amish use simple hand tools, shovels, picks, and sometimes a team of horses for the heavy lifting. They don't need precision engineering because the system works with natural processes rather than against them. The depth is crucial. You want to get below the frost line in your area, typically 4 to 6 feet depending on your location, to ensure year-round water access. Line your chamber with landscape fabric to prevent soil infiltration, then add a 12-inch layer of fist-sized stones at the bottom. This creates your natural filtration layer. For the walls, you can use concrete rings, stone, or even treated lumber, whatever works for your situation. The Amish traditionally use locally available materials, which is part of what makes their systems so sustainable. In limestone areas, they might use stone blocks. In areas with clay, they might construct walls from clay and straw. The key is creating a structure that can hold its shape while allowing water to seep through gradually. The stone layer at the bottom is more important than you might think. These fist-sized stones, the Amish often use river rock or fieldstone, create air pockets that allow water to flow freely while preventing sediment from clogging the system. This is your first stage of filtration, removing leaves, debris, and larger particles before the water continues its journey underground. The Amish have been using this same principle for centuries, and it's one of the reasons their systems are so reliable. Next, install your inlet system. Connect your downspout to a 4-inch PVC pipe that slopes down to your collection chamber at about 2% grade. Add a simple leaf guard at the entry point. A piece of metal mesh works great. Make sure all connections are watertight. The Amish use metal or wooden gutters that they craft themselves, but for our purposes, connecting to existing downspouts works perfectly. The 2% grade is critical. That's about 1/4 inch of drop for every foot of horizontal run. This ensures that water flows smoothly to your collection chamber without pooling in the pipes. The inlet pipe should enter your collection chamber slightly above the stone layer, allowing water to cascade down onto the stones for maximum filtration. The Amish often create a small splash pad at this entry point using additional stones, which helps distribute the water flow and prevents erosion of the chamber floor. This is one of those simple touches that makes their systems work so well over time. Now, for the French drain network, this is what makes the system genius. Dig trenches radiating from your collection chamber in different directions. Install 4-inch perforated drain pipe in these trenches, cover with gravel, and backfill with soil. These drains slowly distribute your collected water through the surrounding area. The Amish typically dig these trenches by hand, following the natural contours of their land. They might have 3 to 5 drain lines extending from their main chamber, each following the path of least resistance through their property. The perforated pipes are crucial. They allow water to seep out along the entire length of the drain rather than just at the end. The Amish use clay pipes when available, but modern perforated PVC works just as well. Cover these pipes with 1 to 2 inches of gravel before backfilling with soil. This creates a distribution network that slowly releases water into the surrounding soil, creating that underground water bank we talked about earlier. The trenches should slope away from your collection chamber at about 1% grade, less than your inlet pipe, but still enough to ensure proper drainage. The Amish often direct these drains toward their gardens or areas where they want to encourage plant growth, turning their water system into a landscape irrigation feature as well. Finally, create your access points. Dig 2-foot diameter wells at strategic locations where you want to access water. These should connect to your underground network and be deep enough to reach the water table you've created. Install simple well covers. Wooden lids work great, just like the Amish use. The Amish typically have 2 to 3 access wells for a single household system, positioned near their kitchen, barn, and garden areas. These access wells don't need to be as deep as your collection chamber. They just need to reach the saturated soil zone you've created. The Amish often line these with the same stone or wood construction, making them virtually invisible when covered. They use simple rope and bucket systems, but you could install a hand pump if desired. The key is keeping these access points clean and covered to prevent contamination while maintaining easy access. The beauty of this system is that it grows with your needs. Start with a single collection chamber and access well, then expand your French drain network as you become more comfortable with the process. The Amish often add to their systems over years, gradually expanding their underground water storage as their families and needs grow. This modular approach means you're never locked into a single capacity. Your system can evolve with your property and requirements. How the system actually works. Let me break this down step by step because honestly, it's brilliant in its simplicity. First, they position their buildings strategically on slopes so water naturally flows toward collection points. The roof gutters, handcrafted from metal or wood, feed into underground pipes that lead to their main collection chamber. This isn't random placement. The Amish have been observing water flow patterns on their properties for generations, understanding exactly where water naturally wants to go. They build their structures to take advantage of these natural drainage patterns, making gravity do the work that we'd normally need pumps for. The collection chamber is where the magic happens. They dig a 6 by 6 foot hole about 8 feet deep, line it with hand-laid stone or concrete rings, and fill the bottom foot with fist-sized stones. This creates a natural filtration system that removes debris and purifies the water as it percolates down. What makes this so effective is that it mimics natural processes. Think about how water filters through a stream bed or how springs form in rocky areas. The Amish have essentially created an artificial spring on their property, but one that they can control and access. The stone lining isn't just for structure, it's part of the filtration process. As water hits those fist-sized stones, it breaks up the flow and allows heavier particles to settle out. The gaps between stones create multiple pathways for water to flow, preventing any single point from becoming clogged. This is why the Amish systems last for decades without major maintenance. The design is self-cleaning in a way that storage tanks never could be. But here's the key. They don't try to hold all that water in one place. Instead, they connect their collection chamber to a network of French drains using perforated clay pipes. These drains slowly distribute the water through the surrounding soil, creating what's essentially an underground water bank. This is where the real genius lies. Rather than fighting against the natural tendency of water to soak into the ground, they're working with it. They're creating a controlled saturation zone that acts like a giant underground sponge. The French drain system is carefully planned to work with the natural soil conditions. In areas with clay soil, the Amish might space their drains closer together to ensure proper distribution. In sandy soils, they might extend their drains further to take advantage of the better drainage characteristics. Each system is custom designed for the specific property, which is why you won't find two Amish water systems that are exactly alike. These perforated clay pipes, the Amish often make their own using traditional techniques, are laid with precise grading to ensure even water distribution. The holes are strategically placed so water seeps out along the entire length of the pipe rather than just at the ends. This creates a uniform saturation pattern in the surrounding soil, building up that underground water reserve gradually and consistently. When they need water, they simply dig access wells that tap into this underground network. The water flows naturally to these wells because of the careful grading and the fact that they've created a saturated zone in the soil around their system. These aren't deep wells tapping into groundwater. They're shallow wells that access the water bank they've created through their distribution system. The access wells are positioned to take advantage of the natural water flow created by their system design. Water naturally seeks the lowest point, so the Amish place their wells at strategic low spots in their saturated zone. The water literally flows to them, requiring no pumping or mechanical assistance. It's the same principle that creates natural springs, water following the path of least resistance to the surface. What's remarkable is how this system regulates itself. During heavy rains, excess water simply continues flowing through the French drain network, preventing flooding while still capturing and storing the water underground. During dry periods, the saturated soil zone acts as a reservoir, slowly releasing water back into the system. It's a completely passive system that requires no human intervention once installed. The underground nature of the system also provides natural temperature regulation. Unlike surface storage that heats up in summer and freezes in winter, the underground water stays at a consistent 50 to 55 degrees year-round. This not only keeps the water fresh, but also prevents the freeze-thaw cycles that destroy above-ground storage systems. The Earth itself becomes the perfect storage environment. The science behind the genius. Now, let's talk about why this actually works better than storage tanks. First, temperature control. Underground water stays a consistent 50 to 55 degrees year-round. No freezing in winter, no scalding hot water in summer. Your water stays fresh because it's constantly moving and filtering through soil. This isn't just about comfort. It's about water quality and system longevity. When water sits in a plastic or metal tank exposed to direct sunlight, it can reach temperatures of 80 to 90 degrees in summer, creating the perfect environment for algae growth and bacterial proliferation. The underground environment provides natural insulation that's far superior to any man-made tank covering. The Earth acts as a massive thermal mass, absorbing heat in summer and releasing it in winter, but always maintaining that core temperature range that keeps water stable and fresh. This is why the Amish systems can provide reliable water access year-round, even in climates with harsh winters that would freeze surface storage systems solid. The constant movement of water through the system is another crucial factor. Unlike stagnant water in storage tanks that becomes a breeding ground for contaminants, the Amish system keeps water flowing continuously through stone and soil layers. This movement creates natural aeration and prevents the anaerobic conditions that lead to unpleasant tastes and odours. It's the difference between a stagnant pond and a flowing stream. One breeds problems, the other stays naturally clean. Second, natural purification. As water moves through the stone and soil layers, it's naturally filtered of impurities. The slow percolation process removes bacteria, sediment, and contaminants that would just sit in a storage tank. It's like having Mother Nature as your personal water treatment plant. The filtration process happens in multiple stages. First, the roof debris is caught by the inlet screens. Then, larger particles settle out in the collection chamber. And finally, the finest filtration occurs as water moves through the soil matrix. The stone layer in the collection chamber acts as a primary filter, removing leaves, twigs, and larger debris that would clog finer filtration systems. The gaps between stones are perfectly sized to trap these materials while allowing water to flow freely. This is followed by the soil filtration stage, where the earth itself becomes a massive biofilter. Beneficial bacteria in the soil break down organic contaminants, while the physical structure of soil particles traps smaller sediments and particles. The slow percolation rate is actually a feature, not a bug. Water moving through the system at a controlled pace allows maximum contact time with the filtering media, ensuring thorough purification. This is the opposite of storage tanks, where water sits motionless, allowing contaminants to accumulate over time. The Amish system is constantly renewing itself, with fresh water pushing older water through the system and out to where it's needed. Third, unlimited capacity. A storage tank holds what it holds, but this system can handle any amount of rain. Excess water just continues flowing through the French drain network, recharging the groundwater while preventing flooding. It's a storage system that expands and contracts with demand. This flexibility is crucial for handling the unpredictable nature of rainfall patterns. During normal conditions, the system captures and stores water in its underground network, creating that saturated zone we've discussed. But when heavy rains arrive, the system automatically accommodates the excess by allowing water to continue flowing through the French drain network. This prevents the overflow problems that plague traditional storage systems, where excess water simply runs off unused and wasted. The system also has incredible redundancy built in. If one part becomes temporarily saturated, water naturally flows to other parts of the network. There's no single point of failure like you'd have with a storage tank that can only hold so much before overflowing. The distributed nature of the storage means the system is always working at maximum efficiency, regardless of rainfall intensity. This unlimited capacity also means the system improves with age. As the surrounding soil becomes more familiar with the water flow patterns, it develops better storage characteristics. The soil structure adapts to accommodate the water, creating more efficient storage zones. It's like the system learns and improves over time, becoming more effective the longer it's in operation. The groundwater recharge aspect is often overlooked but incredibly important. Every gallon stored in this system is also contributing to the overall groundwater table in the area. This means the Amish aren't just solving their own water needs, they're actually improving water availability for their entire community. It's sustainable water management at its finest. Maintenance and benefits. Here's the beautiful part. Maintenance is minimal. Once a year, clean out your collection chamber and check your French drains. The system is largely self-cleaning because water is constantly moving through it. No stagnant water, no algae blooms, no cracked tanks to replace. This is where the Amish system really shows its superiority over conventional storage tanks. When you think about it, traditional tanks require constant attention, cleaning, treating, repairing, and eventually replacing every 10 to 15 years. The annual maintenance routine is refreshingly simple. In early spring, before the rainy season begins, you open up your collection chamber and remove any accumulated debris. The Amish do this by simply pulling out the larger stones, shaking off the sediment, and replacing them. It takes maybe an hour for a typical household system. The French drains need even less attention. Just a quick visual inspection to make sure they're not blocked by surface vegetation or debris. The self-cleaning aspect is remarkable when you think about it. In a traditional storage tank, water sits motionless for weeks or months, creating perfect conditions for algae, bacteria, and sediment accumulation. But in the Amish system, water is always moving, always filtering, always being renewed. It's like having a stream running through your property. Streams don't need cleaning because the constant flow keeps them naturally pristine. The materials used in these systems are incredibly durable. Stone doesn't degrade like plastic. Concrete doesn't crack from UV exposure. Metal pipes don't rust when they're protected underground. The Amish have systems in operation that were built by their great-grandparents, still functioning perfectly with minimal intervention. This isn't just theoretical longevity, it's proven performance over multiple generations. Cost-wise, you're looking at $300 to $800 for a basic system. That's less than one high-end storage tank. But unlike that tank, this system will last 50 to 100 years with minimal maintenance. The Amish systems I saw were built in the 1800s and still work perfectly today. When you do the math, it's incredible. A typical plastic storage tank costs $500 to $2,000 and needs replacement every 15 years. That's $2,000 to $8,000 over a 60-year period, not counting maintenance, cleaning supplies, and water treatment costs. The initial investment in an Amish-style system might seem higher than a single storage tank, but it's actually a fraction of the long-term cost. You're investing in a permanent infrastructure that pays for itself within 5 to 10 years through avoided maintenance and replacement costs. Plus, you're not locked into ongoing expenses for water treatments, pump repairs, or seasonal preparation. And the environmental benefits are incredible. You're recharging groundwater, preventing runoff, and creating a sustainable water source that works with nature instead of against it. Plus, your water stays naturally cool and fresh year-round. Every gallon of rainwater you capture with this system is a gallon that doesn't contribute to street flooding or overwhelm municipal storm systems. The groundwater recharge aspect is particularly important as climate change creates more extreme weather patterns. By capturing rainwater and slowly releasing it into the soil, you're helping to maintain healthy groundwater levels in your area. This benefits not just your property, but the entire watershed. The Amish have been practicing this form of environmental stewardship for generations, understanding intuitively that healthy water systems benefit everyone. Runoff prevention is another major advantage. Traditional roof water that goes into storm drains carries pollutants from roofing materials directly into waterways. But when you capture and filter this water through your system, those pollutants are naturally broken down by soil bacteria before the water rejoins the groundwater system. It's passive water treatment that actually improves water quality rather than degrading it. The system also creates habitat benefits you might not expect. The saturated soil zones around your French drains become microenvironments that support beneficial soil organisms, insects, and even plants. The Amish often find that areas around their water systems become naturally more fertile and productive, as if the constant moisture and nutrient cycling creates ideal growing conditions. Energy independence is another hidden benefit. Unlike pumped storage systems that require electricity to operate, this system works entirely on gravity and natural processes. No power bills, no mechanical failures, no dependence on external energy sources. The Amish have created a truly off-grid water solution that's as reliable as the sun rising each day. The consistent water temperature provides practical benefits beyond just taste and safety. Cold water stays cold, which means your food stays fresher longer. Hot water doesn't become scalding, reducing the risk of burns and making temperature control easier. It's the kind of benefit that becomes deeply appreciated once you experience it, especially during extreme weather conditions. Finally, there's the peace of mind that comes with a truly reliable system. When storms knock out power or damage infrastructure, the Amish system keeps working because it doesn't depend on anything external. It's a water security system that operates independently of the grid, providing confidence that water will be available when it's needed most. Common mistakes to avoid. Before you start digging, here are the biggest mistakes people make with these systems. First, don't skip the proper slope on your inlet pipes. Water won't flow properly without at least 2% grade. This is one of the most common errors I see when people attempt to build these systems themselves. They get so excited about the digging and construction that they rush through the plumbing details, only to discover later that their water sits in the pipes instead of flowing to the collection chamber. The 2% slope requirement isn't arbitrary. It's based on the physics of water flow in pipes. Without adequate slope, water moves too slowly and can actually pool in low spots, creating the exact stagnation problems you're trying to avoid. The Amish understand this intuitively from generations of working with gravity-fed systems, but modern builders often forget that water doesn't flow uphill on its own. Second, make sure your French drains actually drain somewhere. They need to empty into areas that can absorb the water. This seems obvious, but I've seen people install elaborate French drain networks that lead to areas with poor drainage or solid rock. The result is water backing up and flooding their collection chamber instead of dispersing into the soil as intended. The French drains aren't just about distribution, they're about creating a path for excess water to exit the system gracefully. The Amish carefully plan their drain routes to take advantage of natural soil conditions and existing drainage patterns. They don't force water into areas that can't handle it. Instead, they work with the land's natural tendencies to ensure proper absorption. Third, don't use treated lumber or toxic materials in your system. Remember, this water will be used for drinking and cooking. Stick to food-safe materials throughout. This is a critical safety consideration that some people overlook in their enthusiasm to save money or use convenient materials. Pressure-treated lumber, for example, contains chemicals that can leach into your water supply over time, creating health risks that defeat the purpose of having a clean water system. The Amish use only natural materials that they know are safe: stone, untreated wood, clay, and food-grade metals. They've learned through experience that cutting corners on materials creates problems that are far more expensive to fix than doing it right the first time. Modern builders should take the same approach, investing in quality, safe materials that won't compromise water quality. And finally, check local codes. Some areas require permits for well systems, even when they're part of rainwater harvesting. This administrative requirement catches people off guard, especially since the system is designed to be invisible and low impact. But from a regulatory perspective, any structure that accesses groundwater technically falls under well drilling regulations in many jurisdictions. The permitting process isn't necessarily difficult or expensive, but it's essential for legal compliance and long-term peace of mind. The Amish work within their community's regulatory framework, understanding that proper permits protect both the individual system owner and the broader community water resources. Modern builders should take the same responsible approach, ensuring their systems meet all local requirements before investing significant time and money in construction. So there you have it, the Amish secret to rainwater harvesting that works without a single storage tank. By letting the earth itself become their storage system, they've created something that's more reliable, more sustainable, and, honestly, more genius than anything you'll find at the hardware store. If you found this as fascinating as I did, smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Drop a comment below and let me know if you're going to try building this system or if you've seen similar methods in your area. And hey, if you want more off-grid living tips and traditional wisdom, until next time, take care.